Hello. Today, we will continue with the third session of RDSP from where we left off last time. Today, I will introduce how the federal government support is provided. The federal government support mainly consists of grants and bonds, with the grant being called the Canada Disability Savings Grant, and just CDSG. The bond is called the Canada Disability Savings Bond, or CDSB. As mentioned last time, for reference, the federal government grants and bonds can only be received until December 31st of the year the beneficiary turns 49. If the beneficiary enrolls in an RDSP after turning 49, remember that they cannot receive the retroactive benefits for the past 10 years. However, the other benefits of the RDSP remain intact. Even if you enroll in an RDSP after turning 49, the benefit is the tax deferral on interest income, meaning you only pay taxes when you withdraw and you don't have to pay taxes on investment income or similar while it's in the RDSP account. Since the RDSP is not considered an asset, it does not affect government support programs such as the Canada Pension Plan, CPP, Old Age Security, OAS, Guaranteed Income Supplement, GIS, or Employment Insurance, EI. Especially if you are receiving disability assistance. If you receive an inheritance or other funds, it can affect the PWD, which is the disability assistance. However, if you put that money into an RDSP account, even if you withdraw it immediately, it will not affect the PWD, which is the disability assistance. First, I will introduce the grant in more detail. As mentioned last time, this varies depending on income. Based on 2022, if the family or individual income is less than $106,117, the annual grant provides a government contribution of $3 for every $1 on the first $500 deposited. So 3 times $500 is $1,500. Then for the next $1,000. After the initial $500, the government matches $2 for every $1 deposited. This means the government matches up to a maximum of $2,000. So, combining these two, the government provides a grant of up to $3,500 per year. To receive the full $3,500, the minimum amount you need to deposit is $1,500. Since this support is available for 20 years, it amounts to $70,000. If the annual family income or personal income exceeds $106,117, a grant of $1 per dollar deposited is provided for a deposit of $1,000. In other words, it's a one-to-one match. Similarly, the maximum amount you can receive is still $70,000. Here, questions like these arise. If the family income exceeds $106,117, then you won't receive the full grant. So isn't it a loss to join the RDSP now? I'll join later. There are people who ask questions like this, so to answer that question, I will introduce the following table. This table shows the case where $1,500 is deposited annually starting from age 10 compared to starting from age 18. Therefore, if deposits are made over 20 years, the total deposit amount remains the same at $30,000. It is assumed that the government subsidy received is also the same at $90,000. So by the time you reach age 30, if you started at age 18, the full 20 years haven't been completed yet, so the amount is less. However, by age 60, the deposited amount and the amount received from the government become equal. Therefore, when you look at the total amount, it shows that joining 8 years later, that is, starting at age 18, results in almost a $400,000 difference compared to starting at age 10. So this example mentions starting from age 10. But in fact, the RDSP can be started from age 3, as long as the child has a DTC. So if you enroll from a very young age, by the time you reach 60, the difference is unimaginably large. Now, when we talk about investments, we refer to this as the power of compound interest. I will explain more about how powerful compound interest becomes over time as we discuss this further. So, in conclusion, I recommend enrolling in the RDSP as soon as possible. Next, I will talk about bonds. This is much lower than the grant in terms of annual family or personal income, so you can consider it as support provided to low-income individuals. Even if there are no contributions, if the income is low, the bond will be paid. However, since family or personal income needs to be assessed, you must have filed tax returns for the past 2 years. As of 2022, if the annual income is below $34,163, then you will receive the maximum bond of $1,000 annually. I mentioned that it's $20,000 over a lifetime. If the income is between $34,863 and $53,359, you will receive a proportionate bond ranging from $1 to $1,000. If the annual income exceeds $50,359, then you will not be eligible to receive the bond. Typically, since children usually have little to no personal income by the age of 19, you can expect to receive the maximum bond from age 19 onwards. So there's another question like this. Is it necessary to enroll in an RDSP if you don't have money to contribute? Well, of course, it is necessary to enroll. As I mentioned earlier, even if you don't contribute any money, the bond will still be paid. Also, from the age of 18, the government provides disability support payments, which include an allowance. So if you contribute at least $125 every month from that amount for your child's future, you are eligible to receive the maximum possible government support. Regarding this specific grant and bond, another very crucial and important point is that it can indeed be retroactively applied for a period of up to 10 years. There are cases where people couldn't enroll because they didn't know about the RDSP system, or they received a late diagnosis and thus got the DTC late. So when I introduced the DTC, I mentioned that the DTC can also be retroactively applied for up to 10 years. Similarly, the RDSP can be retroactively applied for up to 10 years. This means, for example, if you received the DTC in 2022, but when you check the validity period of the DTC, it can be valid from 2010. Because it is retroactively applied, therefore the RDSP can also be retroactively applied for up to 10 years, meaning you can receive all the grants or bonds that were not previously received. So, as you can see here, the bonds are automatically deposited. As for the grants, it means that the grants that were not paid in the past are paid according to the current contribution amount. Naturally, since the RDSP started in 2008, you can consider it applicable from that time, and since grants and bonds are only available until December of the year you turn 49, you should ensure to receive them all before then. The maximum grant provided by the government each year is $10,500. In other words, I mentioned that $3,500 is generally the maximum when it comes to grants. However, since you can retroactively apply for the past 10 years, they don't give you the entire 10 years worth at once. Instead, the grant is matched for about 3 years worth of amounts. So, as I mentioned earlier, if you contribute $1,500, you receive a grant of $3,500. Therefore, to receive 3 years worth at once, you need to contribute about $4,500, which is 3 times $1,500, to retroactively receive a grant of $10,500. If eligible, the bond allows you to receive 10 years worth at once, and resulting in $11,000 per year. There is a connection with other government support programs. For example, if a parent, grandparent, or anyone else is enrolled in an RRSP and they pass away, the amount can be transferred to a child's or grandchild's RDSP account. The investment income earned from the RESP, such as interest, dividends, or capital gains, for example, can also be transferred to the beneficiary's RDSP account without being taxed. To explain this note, remember that the amount converted or transferred is included in the RDSP's maximum contribution limit of $200,000. Additionally, the amount converted or transferred does not receive a government grant match. While taxes are not paid at the time of conversion or transfer, taxes must be paid when withdrawing this money from the RDSP. Regarding these on taxes, I will provide more explanation next time when discussing withdrawals. The biggest benefit of converting or transferring is the significant tax savings it offers. For more detailed information, please consult with an accountant. Today, I explained in much greater detail and comprehensive about government support. Next time, I will discuss in more detail about withdrawals. Thank you for watching today.